What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turn on the Jets Live. I'm your host, Steven Zantz, not joined by Russo, but joined by another man of the Badlands TOJ family, Will Parkinson. We've done many shows together. Will, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Can't complain. We're 8 days, 9 days out, whatever it is. So we're getting rolling here. It's exciting times.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. I feel like the summer blinked. I mean, I was planning a wedding the entire year and it kind of came in the beginning of camp, and then I was away for my honeymoon, and now it's like literally the game week one's here. For those who don't know, I am going out there. My wife's family is from out there, so it's kind of an easy way to, see the Jets, spend some family time, go to Levi's, which is awesome. This will be my second time going to a Niners game out there. So I can't wait. I'll be boots on the ground, so I'll give everybody some updates while I'm there. But Will, I feel like you are roaring to go. I know you're a season ticket holder. You are so loyal to this team. You go, rain, shine, snow, wind, whatever it may be, traffic, it doesn't matter. But like, we're here, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's horrible, man. It's a good disease. It's exciting. Like I said, it's exciting times. I think, they're in a position where it's one of those few times in the last, 15, 16 years, I guess, where there's true expectation, not, the classic, all right, how do we find a way to sneak in as a wild card? Like, this is a team that's got Super Bowl aspirations. They've been vocal about it. The fan base is vocal about it. Like, this is no joke. So it's going to be an awesome start to the year. Obviously, a bunch of home games.
Yeah.
Well, not the first two, but a bunch of home games, primetime matchups, the whole 9 yards. So I think everyone's kind of ready to get this thing going now. No more 53-man talk. No more overreaction to camp stats. Now it's time ready to roll.
Yeah, I mean, it'd also be nice to see Rodgers play more than 4 plays, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's I think that's
I will be giving him a standing ovation once he gets through play 5. So I want to talk to you about, the impact of Aiyuk getting that extension, because, he hasn't practiced all summer. He finally gets the deal done. We'd imagine that Sauce is going to be traveling with him based on everything that the staff has been saying about his role this season. But how do you figure, Aiyuk actually playing? He's probably not going to be, the Aiyuk we saw in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship game. Probably more of a guy like Mike Williams, where it'll be probably limited snaps, would you imagine? Or do you think he's going to be full go?
It's somewhere in the middle. He's 26 years old. It's not like he's coming off an injury. I don't think this is something where, it's a Mike Williams coming off an injury, or it's a maybe he plays 60% of snaps. It's hard to tell. Like, he's reported, he's been around the team. It's not like he's been holding out. It's like he's been a hold in. Obviously, the last couple of days he's gone kind of AWOL before they got this done. But he's been around the facility. It's not a new playbook. It's not a new scheme. Not a new system. So all those things are obviously it's kind of just like as if a guy that didn't practice all camp. So again, I don't know if he'll be full go in terms of 100% of snaps, but Brandon Aiyuk's going to look probably like Brandon Aiyuk, and he's an awesome player. I don't think this is the one holdout of the three that come on, the big 3 ones between the two teams. This is the one that I would say, kind of maybe impacts the spread or impacts things a little bit less, where, Reddick's obviously a pass rusher, can go hit the quarterback, and Trent Williams is obviously Trent Williams, right? So those are two that, like, when they impact the line of scrimmage, it's just a different ball game. Obviously, Debo is going in healthy, and McCaffrey and Kittle. It's not as if, Aiyuk didn't play last year in a game, and or 2 years ago, and the Niners were more than fine. So,
yeah,
again, he brings them from a really good team to a title contender for sure. But, yeah, I'm not saying Brandon Aiyuk won't be great like he is. It's one of the Jets' deepest positions, if not their deepest. So you like to trust your corners and things like that. I don't know how much Sauce will travel.
Okay, that's interesting.
Maybe he will on third downs and stuff. The Jets did some points last year with Keenan Allen and other guys. They did that with Sauce, but I think he'll do some. Like I said, maybe on third down, some bigger drives where the Jets want to go a little bit more kind of man or man to one side, zone to the other, like whatever they want to do and kind of how they want to match it up. But they trust their guys and they trust their system. I think it'll be interesting. Again, I don't think it's like an every down he's just going to full Revis this thing with everybody. I think it'll be a mixture of the Jets like to do what they want to do. That's part of the system, right? Like, they adjust and they do things, but they trust their guys. They'll play a lot of quarters. They're going to play a lot of cover 3. They're going to play a lot of mix and match from cover 6 stuff to the field. Like I said, I think it'll be big spots where they do that. I also think, I'm more interested to see, does Michael Carter just travel with Debo anytime he goes in motion? Do the Jets do stuff like that. They use some 3 safety stuff with, Ashton Davis, Chuck Clark, and Tony Adams all on the field at once. Did the Jets, go 6 DBs? They did that a lot last year. We saw that in some of those bigger matchups. The Chiefs game specifically, the Jets, a lot of Ashton Davis was on the field with Michael Carter and both safeties and both corners, right? Like, they did a lot of that stuff. It just will be interesting to see how they mix and match here because, again, the Niners want to pound the rock. They want to use Christian McCaffrey, Deebo, and Kittle, and Aiyuk, obviously, but McCaffrey's still limited with the calf. And, Aiyuk is, as you mentioned, hasn't practiced, and it's, August 30th. So, these guys are – I don't know the Niners' schedule, but I assume it's similar to the Jets. The Jets guys are off today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And, that, I think – what's Aiyuk going to get 6 days of practice? They don't have to travel, which helps them and all that stuff. But yeah, I think we'll get some Sauce and Aiyuk, and I think we'll get sometimes Sauce and DJ Reed's going to their sides and being what they've been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited to see that. I mean, like you said, the cornerback room is as deep as it gets on this roster. It's like if you don't have a worry, that's the one. Because even if there were to be an injury, you feel pretty good about where they stand there. As Eccles, can definitely get on the field and has that experience. I want to go back to what you said about, the Niners wanting to pound the rock. I mean, I think McCaffrey is probably not going to be 100%. I mean, calves are very tricky. We've seen a lot of guys who've missed all summer. I know Joe Burrow missed it last year and everyone thought it was an Achilles. I'm not saying it's that serious, but it may impact, his shiftiness. He's taken a lot of miles and whatnot. But I would say, if there is something that, you could concern you, but I don't think it's a huge concern because obviously Quentin Williams is there, but it's really the depth in the interior. I know we're all really excited about all these young guys. We have, Leonard Taylor, we got Tack, we have McGregor. So I'm interested to see your thoughts on really how the Niners, wanted to pound the rock against the Jets interior, which, historically has been pretty deep, but I would say it's a little bit thinner than it's been in the past 2 years. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. But I would say the Niners offensive line is also not the same Niners offensive line it's been, in years past for sure. I think, we'll see what it's going to be. They always do a really good job of kind of scheme and as a group, it's Trent Williams and then a group. The other 4 kind of work in tandem to be solid. Obviously, but Mike McGlinchey wasn't a great player. We saw him go to Denver for almost $20 million a year, whatever it is. We saw Lincoln Tomlinson come here and guys of that nature. John Feliciano was kind of almost out of the league, and then he was, a guy that's starting in admirably for them. So I don't really worry about the Jets against the run early in the year. I think that's a team that, with CJ and Quincy and some of these guys, they usually kind of feel like they wore down a little bit at the end of the year last year. In both the last 2 years, I would say against running the ball, where teams could kind of be extremely unpredictable because the Jets were just always down by whatever, always down by 10, 14 points where a team can kind of just do whatever they want. And obviously if you're on the field forever, I think the Jets, the 4th worst in terms of time of possession a year ago. I don't expect that to be the same thing. I actually expect the Jets to try to kill a lot of clock when they're on offense and try to run the football and keep the ball out of Purdy, McCaffrey, Deebo, Kittle, and Aiyuk's hands. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that. I think Kinlaw, obviously, Quinnen is excellent against the run. Jermaine's a really good player against the run. Clemens is better against the run than against, in pass rush, obviously. So, yeah, I'm not too worried early in the year. Again, that's something that, we'll kind of know a little bit more weeks 10 through 14 or whatever it may be with the Jets as opposed to early in the year. Again, I think they've done a pretty good job, against the run, giving up just a little bit, not a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I think that, Jermaine's been outstanding against the run, and I'm really excited to see how he looks in year 3. I mean, the jump from 1 to 2 was awesome, and I expect him to continue to ascend. I mean, he's definitely one of the really exciting young players on this defense. I want to know, what you think about what's going on with Reddick. I know if you're part of the Badlands Discord, you can see that Will's been dropping some breadcrumbs. I know you like to keep certain information, to yourself, and I totally understand and respect that. But what do you think is going to happen here? Because it sounds like, all signs, and you've been kind of hinting at this, is that he's going to report next week. And what that would lead to is he's probably not playing week 1, maybe week 2. But are you if you had to, handicap it percentage wise, what percentage do you think is the odds that he's actually reporting next week?
I think it's pretty high. He reports next week. I think early in the week he'll report. There's been a lot of different things, and that's just not really what this is not where my information is coming from, but there's also been a lot of public stuff that's kind of been a little bit interesting. I think the tune of Robert Saleh has been very different the last 3 days than it's been all summer. Hassan's got a chance to play. We got time. I know, it's not just always in shape, whatever. Like that was the most optimistic we've heard Saleh. And he's been much better this year about not saying anything.
Yeah, he has.
He's gotten a lot better. I think he probably felt like he got burned a little bit, around the Senior Bowl with some of the articles and stuff that came out. And I think he's kind of stopped talking at all. Which, again, it stinks because in some ways I think Robert Saleh's personality is part of what makes him a guy people still kind of would ride for. But regardless, the locker's there. He's there. He's doing an event in Jersey on Tuesday. He's posting workout videos every single day, showing he's in shape. He's clearly probably training in South Jersey, where he's from. There's just a lot of things there, and he's not going to not report week one. There's a much different thing in terms of, the Chris Jones situation, and maybe he does miss a game. I still think he's playing week one. I'd be pretty shocked. Why would if he's going to report, he's going to play. I don't see the Jets being like, hey man, like you're on a 1-year deal. We're going to slow roll this thing. Like they're going to, I don't know how much he'll play. Maybe it's 20 snaps. Maybe it's 15 snaps. He's primarily a third down guy in certain situations, but he's there Monday. Why is he going to not be able to play, but Brandon Aiyuk can't? You know what I mean? Like if Trent Williams reports Friday, he's playing Monday. That's just the way these things work. We saw it last year. Nick Bosa was not around at all last summer. Came in I think he came in September 4th last year. The opener was September 10th, and he played. So
it's true.
I'm not saying it's 100%. There's nothing that's a guarantee in this business, but I feel pretty confident Reddick will be there Monday or Tuesday.
My only counter to that with Reddick versus those guys is that he's never played for the Jets before, and he's never played in this system. So that's the only thing. But I totally agree with you. He's a veteran. He's 29 years old. He could certainly rush the passer in his sleep. So it's like I agree with you.
These guys, some of these guys can kind of just get off the couch and go. And I feel pretty confident Reddick will be there Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, I love that. So you didn't give me a percentage, but that's okay. But I think the confidence is still really good because things can change. It's a very fluid situation.
I'd say well over 50% here. I don't know. I'm not good at the percentage stuff, but I think he'll be there.
Okay. So we do have a question in the chat. I'll put it up here for you. It's from Chad617NYJ. Question: what kind of impact can Mike Williams realistically have at this point in week one? I'll pass it to you, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So what do you think?
In terms of overall impact, I think he can have an impact on the game. Do I think he plays more than 25 snaps? Probably not. I think the Jets are going to live in a lot of Mike Williams, again, similar to Reddick, but in a little different situation, obviously. I think it'll be more third downs. I think it'll be a lot of red zone, goal line stuff. 3rd and 8, hey, it's 2nd and 10, 2nd and goal from the 9. We want to get Mike Williams as a big body in there, et cetera. I feel like he'll have an impact. I think him just being on the field is helpful. I would say if you're going to get full Mike Williams, week 6 is the full 75 snaps. Looks like Mike Williams in his prime, which he still is in his prime, but he's just obviously a guy coming off an ACL. So, I would say we'll get it progressively. It'll be 20, 25 snaps week 1, 30, 35 week 2. Maybe you get up to 40 week 3. Maybe it's 45 week 4. London, who knows with the travel, and then week 6 it's like a mini bye into Buffalo at home. I think that's when you kind of see him full go. But he'll still have an impact. Him being on the field is helpful from a million reasons, whether it's just as a decoy, whether it's in the run game, whether it's being a big body for Rodgers to throw outside the numbers. A guy who's played in a bunch of big games, a guy who knows who can get it done. Niners have small corners. They're good, but they're small. So I can see the Jets trying to target that as well.
Yeah, I feel pretty similar to what you said. I think about how Brees was in week 1 last year. He's going to be on the field. He's going to get some touches. I would say maybe he gets 5 to 6 targets, max. Maybe he'll get 2 or 3 catches. I just think if there's a situation where he's in the open field, you just can see that maybe his speed isn't fully there. I know we don't have the GPS metrics that Saleh did with Brees last year. I know that's been a topic of conversation. Our good friend Zach Rosenblatt was talking about that on his show this week. But I do think that if you're in a situation where it's first and goal and you're at the 5, there's no reason that they're not going to trot him out there and try to get some, a fade route or just something where they can use his big body, because ultimately that's something that they were hoping to get from Allen Lazard last year. And we all know what happened there, but I think that they feel a lot better about Mike Williams, considering that's like one of the things he's been known for since he came in the league. He's just such a great power forward, jump ball kind of guy. And that's what they need him for, because they haven't really had that since B Marsh. Like that's how long it goes back.
There's probably only, maybe it's T. Higgins. Outside of that, I don't think anyone else in the league you're wanting in a 50-50 jump ball at this point in their career. So he's a special player when he's on the field. He was fantastic the first 3 weeks last year before he got hurt. I think he'll have an impact. I think it's tempered expectations. I think because he didn't practice till like the fan portion of training camp was over, people kind of forgot about him. But listen, man, he's ahead of schedule. Again, I think he'll play some. I don't know how much, but again, maybe Connor's at 18 to 25 snaps. That's probably right within range.
Yeah, I agree. We got another question from Armand. Where does Malachi Corley get more snaps week 1? Returner, special teams, or offense? I would say probably special teams. What do you think?
I guess. I don't know how much Malachi Corley is going to play week 1. I would say like maybe he'll get 2 to 3 touches on offense. Maybe he gets 1 or 2 returns. I don't think there's going to be a ton. It's not that he's not going to be a good player. It's not that like as the year goes on, we're not going to see more and more, but he's going to be kind of a smokescreen jet sweep,
like the Barrios packages that we used to see.
Yeah, exactly. And then special teams wise, I would say starting returners probably week 1 will be Gibson and Isaiah Davis is my guess based on camp. Like those are the 2 guys that return most of the kicks.
Okay.
And then obviously in a pinch, will you see a Brees? Will you see Garrett Wilson? Will you see these guys that like, if they need to spark something, do they get something different there? But maybe we get Corley for 1 or 2. He should be good at kickoff returns. Like that's, it's basically being a running back. It's an elongated run play, but I just don't know how much. I do not think you will see him return punts. He did not look good returning punts in camp. But again, it's a skill you kind of that grows on you. So I would say very tempered expectations for Malachi Corley early on. I think he's a guy who post bye week in the stretch run they'll find a really niche, really good role for. I just think early on it's going to be much more Xavier Gibson than Corley in the slot, and then some Garrett Wilson as well.
Okay. I mean, listen, I love to see Garrett going inside and out. I think he could do most of his damage in the slot, because I would say most of the time, whoever's going to be guarding him in that position is probably going to have a really tough time, because it's not going to be the number 1 corner on a team. So I'm excited, but I have a fun one for you. I don't think anyone's asked you this so far, at least some of the content that I've seen you put out this week. What would be your prediction for healthy scratches week 1?
Oh,
it's a fun one, right? We got a week to go.
They just 46.
Yeah. And you don't have to do all, but maybe just name like 5.
No, I'm going to try to go through this.
Okay.
All right. No, both quarterbacks will be healthy. I think Izzy will be a healthy scratch.
Interesting. I thought they might keep him to have some depth, but
but they have 3 backs. I don't know. I don't think we'll keep 4 backs personally. So I'm just thinking Izzy will be a healthy scratch. I'll say Bates will be a healthy scratch.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2. They won't dress Mitchell.
Interesting.
3. They're gonna, because then I don't think they'll dress 10 offensive linemen. I mean, if you get to the point where you lose 4 offensive linemen,
that's true.
You might be effed.
Ruckert might be playing outside.
I'll say was it 3, so we're down to what, 50. I'll say 4 more. I'll say Barnes is a healthy scratch.
Yes, that's a good one.
I will say JBC to
maybe Oliver.
I'll say maybe Oliver, or I'll say
maybe McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor, and I don't know.
Tack has to be active.
Yeah, so those will be like the 7, I would say.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range. Yeah, obviously, again, the third quarterback. I'm sure they'll just elevate Martinez, I believe, right? They brought him back. So, he'll be elevated as the emergency quarterback as well.
Okay. I like it.
It's a good question, though. I haven't, no one's asked me that.
I know. I got to switch it up. I got to put you on your toes.
Been on 9 pods this week, and no one's asked me that. That's pretty good.
Here's a good one also about from Kyle Wilson. I mean, I hope it's not the real Kyle Wilson, because I've said some mean things about the Kyle Wilson that played for the Jets. But who we got for captains this year? I actually tweeted this out, but I'll put it on for anyone who didn't see my answer. So obviously Rodgers, I think that's an easy one. I think Mosley is the other easy one. And then I think Morstead will be the specials captain. So you got 3. And then I think Garrett's going to be the other offensive captain. And then I actually think Sauce will be a captain. I know people will say Q because of last year, but I actually think Sauce is taking on a bigger leadership role. What do you think?
You think how many captains? 5?
5, 2 on each side of the ball and 1 specials.
I'm going to go it's Rodgers, Mosley.
Q?
No, I think they're going to go 3 and then game day captains again.
Okay.
So Q, Sauce will have 1 week. Q will have 1 week. I think you'll see a Garrett have a 1 week. I think Brees might have a week. I just think it'll go Rodgers, Q, and either Morstead or Zerline. I just think that the Jets have kind of done this thing where under Saleh, it's very much like old school, like high school or college, even or old school NFL, where like captains is like really a special thing that actually means something. Where like I don't know, I think the Giants had like 8 or 9 or 10 captains last year, and it's like it's cool, but it's cool, but it's like 10% of the roster is a captain, and or even more.
It dilutes the value.
It dilutes the value, and I think CJ Mosley speaks. Every single person in that building, including Aaron Rodgers, listens. Aaron Rodgers speaks. We know all of the 52 are listening, and obviously you got to have a special teams captain. They don't have a Justin Hardy who was a captain here for a few years anymore. Morstead's a guy that one of the guys in his roster loves, and he's won a title, and I think his voice does carry some weight, especially considering what position he plays. It's important. So I think they only go 3 captains again, and I think they roll with like a game day of a Q, Sauce, as you mentioned, Brees, Garrett, maybe a Jermaine gets a week, Quincy gets a week, Michael Carter. You know what I mean? I think that's Tyron, something where there's a lot of guys that could be it, which is a huge compliment to this roster. I don't know. I have a feeling that they'll roll. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I have a feeling they'll roll super low number of captains, and then each week, hey, this guy has been balling. He's earned it for this week. Like, it sounds stupid and cheesy, but I actually think sometimes it's kind of a cool thing that
it means something.
It means something. Yeah. I just think when you get into the thing where like, hey, we have 10 captains, it's like, what do you have, 6 starting quarterbacks too? Then it's like it gets into that. If you have 10 captains, do you really even have 1? It comes down to like you should really have a bunch of guys that could be it, but you should really only have a couple of guys that every single person in that locker room when they speak, all other 52 guys shut the F up and they're locked in on that guy.
Yeah, Rodgers, Mosley, Morstead. I feel like those are the 3 guys. They're also the 3 of the oldest guys on the team, so that also makes sense.
Yeah, 2 of them are probably like 2 of the 5 oldest guys in the league.
Yes,
most importantly.
Yes. So I got 2 more for you. I know you got to run. So first will be fantasy related. So everyone is trying to draft Garrett and Brees in the first round of their league, maybe second round for Garrett, depending how deep your league is, depending on the scoring system. Who is somebody else that you want to draft in fantasy this year on the Jets? It could be their defense. It doesn't necessarily have to be an offensive player, or it could be Greg the Leg, who I'm a little bit nervous about, but we don't have to go there. But who would you pick?
I'm not just saying this because I love Conk, but like Conklin's a guy who he's going to go in like round 13 of people's leagues.
He's basically free. He's basically
free. He's basically at the end of people's drafts, but outside of like the top 6 or 7 guys who we all know, and in the Kittle, Andrews, Kelsey, Hawk, who's going to be out now 6 weeks, or at least obviously, outside of the Laportas of the world, where those guys go quite high, obviously. And I'm not a fantasy expert, but like I just know that like if you're like, hey, I don't want to take a tight end early, kind of do the quarterback thing where it's like, what's the real difference between the first and the 20th best quarterback? Is it worth it? I'd rather have 6 amazing running backs. Conk just feels like a guy who's like 60, 650, 6 touchdowns, and you're like, he's a top 12 fantasy tight end. Then I got in the 15th round, and you feel really good about it. So I would say he's one, and then Braylon Allen's the other one who
you stole it from me.
If you're in a really deep league, where it's a 12-team league, a 4, whatever some of these deeper leagues where you have like six flex guys. I've seen a bunch of these things on Twitter and stuff. He's a guy that like sneaky might get 4 goal line touches a game that ends up in being like, hey, this guy's had 12-point a game running back because he scores a touchdown every week.
Yeah. I think Braylon is actually you could argue he's the most valuable handcuff in fantasy. Like him, now I guess Jordan Mason because Elijah Mitchell's injured, and then Tyler Algier because those guys are the backups to the 3 most valuable guys in fantasy. But the one thing I actually heard this on the Ringer Fantasy Football show from Danny Heifetz. He was talking about a position, flex with benefits instead of friends with benefits. So it's like that's what Braylon could be, because he actually might have some value because he's going to get touches. I've been telling everyone who will listen to me in my life that I'm like, Braylon Allen's going to be on the field week 1 in San Francisco. He's going to make plays, and he's going to be a fan favorite very quickly if you didn't watch the preseason. Like, he really is. Like, he's just I hate saying this, and I know people have been talking about it. He's like baby Derrick Henry. I mean, like, we got to see some things, but I get why people would say that, just because the size, the speed, just the juice that this guy has.
Yeah, the physicality he's running with.
Yeah, he's smaller than Henry, but I get it. He's just more of a power runner. He's not like Brees, who's just like shifty all around, like can do everything. He's more of like focused in that area. So I think Conklin's a great one. We've been talking about him for 3 years at this point, because he's just been like Garrett, like even the running backs. He's just been hampered by the quarterback play. I think he had 900 yards 1 year since he's been with the Jets. I don't know if it was last year or 2022. He's just quietly been productive. The issue's been we haven't scored touchdowns. If we score touchdowns, he's going to get some of them, because Rodgers loves throwing the tight ends in the red zone. Like, that's
the random 2 touchdown game in the Zach implosion game. He had 2 beautiful touchdowns.
I know, but we don't talk about it because
I broke everyone's brain.
Yeah, I love Conk. Always have. I liked him in Minnesota. I had him in his last year there in fantasy. He was a nice little bench guy that I would, toss in there every now and then when there was an injury or a flex. I agree with you. I think he's going to be awesome. And I think he's a guy that people just don't talk about, just because, he's never like the sexy name. He's just, he's a good NFL tight end. He's not, Kittle, Laporta, Kelsey, but I get it. And then the last one that I had for you was just going back to MC2, or I guess just Michael Carter now, because the other Michael Carter is now not on the NFL roster. I don't know if he got claimed. Hate to see it. I know you have a relationship with MC2, but what do you think is going to happen with this extension? I actually spoke to someone who covers the team, and he said the reason for the holdup, and you can confirm or deny this, is they want to see how the year goes out, and it's not just for him; it's for everybody. It's like, do they want to hand an extension when it could be someone else who's making decisions next year? They don't want to really just tie themselves to things. I think it's like with anyone, and I think that's partially why Reddick is also not getting a deal. It's just because they want to see what happens and who's going to be making decisions. But I know you have a relationship with him. What do you think is going on?
I would say, kind of generally speaking, in terms of extensions and stuff around the Jets, I think it kind of goes back to even some of the last year and some of what we saw in the offseason. A lot of it's a coach and a GM who got to go out and win. And I think it's an ownership and an organization who want to see results. They want to see a home playoff game. They want to see wins. They want to see a team go win a Super Bowl and be a competitive, relevant team where, MetLife's 83,000 people or whatever, 82.5, packed out on, January, whatever the 14th, whatever the damn date of the wild card round or division round, because they're hosting a playoff game for the first time, since George Bush's second year in office. You know what I mean? I think that's a fair thing. Do I think that it's not great football business in terms of guys like Carter or, hopefully getting ahead of Sauce and, Garrett, even getting ahead of Brees, et cetera, not getting Bryce Huff and others gone? Yeah, sure. That's 100% fair. And I'm not going to give the organization a pass on that. But I will say, I also think that the organization saying, "Dude, we've spent," I don't know, the Jets have had some of the highest cap spends. Not necessarily just there's a difference in cap space and actual cash spend.
Yeah, and that's what gets lost. That is what gets lost.
The Jets have been top 5 in cash spend every year. It's just the cap space, obviously. Yeah.
I was gonna say, didn't he hand $100 million in cash to Rodgers last year? I think people don't remember that.
Yeah, Rodgers took a huge pay cut for sure, but he also got paid out on pretty big bonuses. Q got a ton of money guaranteed. A huge signing bonus, et cetera. Well, there's a lot of guys. Quincy's going to have to get paid again. I think that I would say, I think Michael Carter eventually will get extended. I just, in terms of timing, we'll see. But he's a guy who's, hey, I would like to be here. He's one of the best, if not the best nickels in the sport.
He is.
We'll see. So we'll see on him. But I just think in general, Reddick, any of these guys, Conklin, all these guys, they want to go see wins. And if the Jets win games, we'll see a lot of these guys back, especially from a veteran perspective. And if they don't win games, Garrett and Brees and those guys will get paid no matter what. But I don't know. I think it comes down to the same thing you just mentioned. What do you want to fork over? And again, I'm not saying this is the right reason, but this is just the reality of it.
It's the side of it that people don't think about, that logistically, if you're running a business and you don't know who's going to be running your business.
Hey, I don't know if this guy's going to be our CEO in a year. I'm going to give him
exactly.
I'm going to be able to let him hire, 100,000 people, whatever. It's a stupid example, but
Yeah. And let's make this clear: we're not defending Woody here because
No,
we both are very critical of him.
I'm just trying to give some context as to like some of the spending. Even if free agency was like, hey, they should go spend on this guy, then spend on this guy. A lot of those deals were incentive laden deals, whether it's Tyron or Mike Williams, et cetera. They did spend money on other guys. They spent a lot of money last year, and things didn't go well, obviously, unfortunately, and. We'll see again for doing some of these restructures too, if they need to, and they go get Devontae and they're in position to go win a Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm sure Woody's no problem restructuring Quinn's contract and paying him an $18 million bonus in cash. Like, I'm sure he has no problem doing that, but for him to do it right now when, again, I'm not defending it. I'm just telling you I'm just telling you that there's that would be their defense is like, you haven't won games. I think from the Jets fan defense and from people around football, it's like, dude, Michael Carter's 26, 25 years old. One of the best players at his position in the sport. He's a homegrown guy. Extend him, and I think they will. I just think those. We'll see on those guys.
All right, it's fair. All right, I'll leave you one last prediction for 2024. Bold prediction. Doesn't have to be a record. I know the season preview guide's coming out, which anyone who's a Badlands subscriber on Patreon, you will get access to. War Room gets it first, then everybody else. But what's your bold prediction for the season? Anything you want.
Ooh, bold prediction. The Jets. Let's see.
It could be player related. It could be success related, whatever you want it to be.
Bold prediction. I'm just trying to see if I can get the numbers right in my head. I will say the Jets have 4 guys, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, to finish top 5 in offensive or defensive player of the year voting.
Okay.
So I think Garrett and Brees, I don't know if they'll win, but I think there'll be guys that are like top 5 finishers. Like they're at ESPN, whatever the award show, whatever it's NFL awards.
It's such a joke. Just announce it in a press release.
At the NFL awards, and I think on defense, Quinnen will be there and Sauce will be there, and I think we'll be like maybe one will win it, but either way, it'll be like, wow, the Jets had like 4 of the top 10 guys that they're on offense or defense leaving the year. So yeah, I'll go with that as a bold prediction, and then record wise, stats wise, all that stuff. We'll save it for the guide. And got to pay for it, man.
Yeah. My bold prediction is what's it called? Brees will be the number 1 pick in fantasy consensus next year based on the year he has. I do have a future on him, 20-1 to win an offensive player of the year. And I think Garrett, because he's finally getting stable quarterback play, will be viewed differently than he is right now. Not that people don't like him. I think he'll be viewed for the most part. I mean, there's so many good players at the receiver position as a top 5 receiver in the league. And I think he will go very high in fantasy next year because of the volume and the usage. So he'll be a top 5 pick. Brees will be the number 1 pick. And this is like the weirdest thing for us as Jet fans, because typically it was always like avoid Jets players in fantasy just because their offense is such dog water, but I get it.
Yeah. I think they've scored like some like obscene low amount of points across the NFL. It's gross, but
that's why when I see Tim Boyle on a practice squad and people were like, he's on the practice squad, I'm like, dude, he's not an NFL quarterback. Like, come on. Like,
it's just there's a lot of guys that
politics. It's a political thing at that point.
Yeah, there's a lot of nepotism in the NFL, but like there's in any sport. I just I think it's like I don't know how far the year's going to go, whether they how far they get, but I do think it'll be a fun year, and I think it'll be a year that people will be like, wow, this was awesome. It's got my excitement back for the franchise, etc.
Yep. All right, give everyone some plugs. I know you're a host of 3 different shows. You do some emergency duty, for preseason game reactions with Connor, after a meaningless Giants game. But what do you got for us?
So TOJ Pod, me and Mike Giardi did a short episode yesterday on 53-man. So TOJ Pod as always. TOJ Talks on Saturdays on Badlands, and then All 32 Pod covering the whole league. We did a full AFC East. It's an hour and a half long AFC East and NFC East preview. Me and Mike Giardi on CLNS Sports Network. That's Monday and Wednesday, or Monday and Friday usually. That came out last night. So be sure to tune in. Both of us picked the Jets. We did about 20 minutes on the Jets. So, there's a lot of Patriots going 2-15 talk and the Jets winning the division. So if you like copium and some adrenaline rushes on a Friday, please rate and subscribe and review. We want to keep growing that show and, try to push some more Jets fans in the national media, baby. Let's roll.
I like it. Make sure to follow him on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at WillPa11, right? WillPa11.
Yeah, you ripped it. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, I've heard it enough times on the
I was gonna
shows.
say I basically say it in my sleep at this point. It's horrible.
I do like that. I mean, I miss your old
Oh,
TOJ
there's a
Talk
new intro coming. There's a new
Oh,
intro coming. A
I
lot
mean,
more. You teased. That's a good tease. There is a new intro coming. There's also almost finished with like a intro that'll be somewhat of a hype video coming out. I'm almost done with it. So
okay.
yeah, there's a lot
Listen.
going on. I literally have no time to sleep ever. But hey, we're just gotta do it for the people, man. Someone's gotta do it.
I love it. All right. Make sure to subscribe to this channel at Badlands TOJ on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to Toronto Jets Live on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your pods. Obviously, all of Will's shows, which are either on the Badlands Patreon or Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Appreciate everybody. There'll be plenty of these streams going forward, and we'll talk to you guys soon.